Captain Alex Reed stood at the airlock of the old alien station. He stared at the dark corridor beyond. The metal walls were scratched and worn. A faint hum echoed through the empty halls. Alex's team of 4 humans followed behind him. Each wore a light armor suit and carried a weapon. They were on a simple scouting mission. They needed data on this abandoned base. Ben Foster, the team's tactical officer, checked his energy gauntlet. It glowed faintly on his left hand. The gauntlet was new. It was part of a human project to absorb alien energy. Ben flexed his fingers to test its strength. He felt the smooth pulse of power under his skin. He hoped it would help them in the unknown. Julia Parks, the engineer, carried a scanning device. She swept it across the walls. Her device hummed and flashed. She recorded every reading. She had a calm voice. She spoke in simple terms so everyone could understand. She said, "The energy here is unstable. We must be careful." Her words were clear to the team. Andrew Collins walked behind them. He was the medical officer. He held a small kit with healing tools. He checked his instruments. He smiled at Julia. He liked her calm mood. He said, "We stay close. We watch each other." They pressed forward. Alex raised a hand. He motioned them to stop. He heard distant echoes, steps, and murmurs. He frowned. He tapped his helmet mic. He whispered, "Audio sensors pick up movement ahead. Unknown life signs. Be ready." The team froze. Each heart beat faster. They moved again, slowly and quietly. The corridor opened into a large room. At its center was a sealed door with strange symbols. Alex approached. He read the symbols. They looked like a warning. He said, "This door leads to the core chamber." "The one the reports mentioned." Ben stepped forward. He held up his gauntlet. He said, "I will test the door's field. If it is safe, we open it." He raised his hand. The gauntlet glowed brighter. A soft pulse pushed against the door. The symbols flared with light. The team stepped back. The door slid open with a hiss. Fog rose from the dark chamber. Alex motioned them inside. The room was vast. Broken pillars lay across the floor. Wires and cables hung from the ceiling. The air smelled of metal and stale water. In the center stood a figure. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes glowed like distant stars. She wore a tight suit of dark armor. At her hip hung an energy sword. Its blade shimmered in the low light. She faced them calmly. Kyrie Dalton, blade master of her people, glared at the humans. Her clan had ruled this station for centuries. She saw them as trespassers. Her sword was the symbol of her rank. She would not let them pass. Ben and Alex raised their hands in peace. Alex said, "We do not want war. We seek knowledge." Kyrie's eyes narrowed. She did not trust them. She raised her sword. She spoke in her tongue. Her voice echoed. An alien sound that made the walls tremble. Julia whispered, "I do not think she will listen." Andrew stepped forward. He said, "We can help each other. Let us talk." Kyrie hissed. She swung her sword down toward Ben. He raised his gauntlet. The energy blade met his metal hand. The sound of metal against energy filled the room. Ben felt pressure. The sword pushed against him. Sparks flew where blade met gauntlet. He held his ground. He did not move back. He breathed slowly. The team watched in awe. Ben's gauntlet absorbed the blade's force and redirected it safely. Kyrie froze. She did not expect the human to block her blade so easily. She lashed out with fury. She attacked again. Each swing was fast and sharp. Ben remained calm. He held the sword off with one hand. The room lit with flashes of light. Alex shouted, "Hold your fire!" He aimed his sidearm at Kyrie. His voice was firm but controlled. He knew a fight would end badly. He wanted to understand. Kyrie staggered. The gauntlet's force drove her. "Blade back twice," she gasped. She bit her lip. Her eyes flicked to Ben's arm. She saw the gauntlet's glow. She sensed human tech beyond her understanding. Ben lowered his hand slowly. Sparks faded. He said, "I do not want to hurt you. Please stand down." Kyrie blinked. She stared at him. She gripped her sword tightly. Her chest rose and fell. She studied his calm face. The rest of her guards stepped into the room. They were fierce warriors. They glowered at the humans. Their weapons shone with power. They looked ready to strike. Alex raised his voice. We come in peace. We seek the station's data. We have no desire for bloodshed. Kyrie's sword tip shook. She looked at her guards. She looked at Ben. She took a breath. She whispered in her tongue. Her warriors lowered their blades a little. The silence was heavy. Ben opened his palm to the team. He stepped back. He said, "Let us talk. Let us find a way forward." Kyrie's breathing slowed. She studied him. She remembered her training. She had been taught to destroy all threats. But she also knew honor. She called her warriors to fall back. The humans lowered their weapons. Alex relaxed his stance. He smiled with relief. He said, "Thank you. I am Captain Alex Reed. These are my team." He gestured to Ben, Julia, and Andrew. Kyrie sheathed her sword. She bowed her head slightly. She said in accented common, "I am Kyrie Dalton. You are brave. Why do you seek this place?" Alex replied, "We want to learn. This station holds secrets that may save both our peoples." Kyrie looked uncertain. Ben stepped forward. He touched the wall near fallen wires. He said, "Our technology can help stabilize your power cores. In return, share your data." Kyrie frowned. She glanced at her guards. They murmured among themselves. Julia raised her scanner. She said, "The core is unstable. It may collapse at any moment. We can help you secure it." Kyrie's shoulders tensed. She looked at the sealed door behind her. She remembered her orders. Protect the artifact at all costs. Andrew joined Julia. He showed her a medkit. He said, "I can treat your injured. We can heal and help." Kyrie blinked. She saw their sincerity. She hesitated. She faced Alex again. She said, "Your words are convincing. But I still doubt." Ben offered his hand. He said, "Let us prove our help. After that you may decide our fate." Kyrie stared at his hand. She saw no weapon. She saw trust. She gripped his hand firmly. Her skin was cool and rough. Ben felt strength in her grip. He did not pull back. Alex smiled. Kyrie nodded. She said, "We will see if your help is real. For now, you may stay." She turned and walked deeper into the chamber. Her warriors followed. Alex motioned his team to move. They followed Kyrie. The fog hung around their boots. They felt the weight of a new alliance. Each step brought them closer to the station's heart. Danger and hope lay ahead. Ben glanced at his gauntlet. It hummed softly. He wondered what challenges would come. He thought of how he stopped her blade. He knew this was only the beginning. Julia whispered, "This mission just got more complicated." Andrew nodded. He added, "But maybe also more important." Alex closed the gap between them and Kyrie. He said quietly, "Let's find the truth." Their footsteps echoed as they walked deeper into the alien station. The story had begun. Ben Foster and Kyrie Dalton stood facing each other in the glowing chamber. The air was thick with tension. Ben's gauntlet still hummed softly. Sparks drifted where the blade had struck. Kyrie's blue skin shone under the dim lights. She held her sword's hilt tightly. Captain Alex Reed stepped between them. He did not point his weapon. Instead, he opened his hand in a peaceful gesture. He said, "Ben, tell her how your gauntlet worked." Ben nodded. He turned his palm upward. The glow focused in his fist. He spoke slowly so Kyrie could understand. "This gauntlet is human tech. It can absorb energy strikes. Then it sends the energy away. I can block strong attacks with one hand." Kyrie's eyes widened. She lowered her sword a little. She whispered, "Your people make such machines?" Ben shrugged. He said, "Yes. We study what we find. We build our own tools." He tapped the gauntlet. It pulsed again. Linda Dalton, Kyrie's closest guard, stepped forward. She was quiet until now. She studied the gauntlet with suspicion. The guard spoke in Kyrie's tongue. Her words sounded like a low melody. Kyrie answered with a nod. Then she turned back to Ben. She said in common, "Human tool, strong as my blade." "That is no small feat." Ben smiled. He felt relief. He said, "We learn fast, we adapt quickly." Alex's eyes moved from Kyrie to her guards. He said, "We want to work together." Kyrie clenched her jaw. She paced slowly in front of the sealed doorway. Her sword hung at her side. She said, "My duty is clear. I guard the fate crystal. It protects my clan. You humans have your own duty. Why do you seek the crystal?" Alex answered, "We want to stop a war. Our worlds may collide if we misuse a power. Your crystal can help us build peace." Kyrie's face tightened. She pointed at the crystal room door. She said, "To me it is a weapon. To you, a peace tool? You would use it on the battlefield?" Ben raised his hand calmly. He said, "No, we would study its power. We would share knowledge. We want to keep it safe." Kyrie shook her head. She crossed her arms. She said, "My people have fought for centuries. We do not trust easy words." She paused. She looked at Alex. "What proof do you offer?" Alex looked at his communicator on his wrist. He called down the line. He asked the cruiser commander to beam their data logs to the station. After a moment, a hologram flickered near Alex's shoulder. Rows of symbols and charts floated in the air. Kyrie blinked at the bright lights. She whispered, "Your data shows peace treaties?" Alex nodded. He said, "Yes, we have signed many. We have destroyed far more." Kyrie frowned. She turned to her guard. They spoke quickly. They reviewed the data with fierce eyes. Ben stepped closer. He lowered his voice. He spoke to Kyrie alone. "We can prove ourselves. Let me help you repair your station core. If we succeed, you will see our skill." Kyrie did not answer at once. She stared at Ben's gauntlet light. Then she looked at her warriors. Finally, she said, "Fine. Show me you help, then I decide." Julia Parks walked forward. She carried her scanner against the wall. She said, "The core will fail in hours. If we do not fix it, the station will collapse. Everyone dies." Kyrie frowned at the scanner readings. She said, "We ran out of spare parts centuries ago. Only one power conduit works. The rest are broken." Andrew Collins added, "My medkit has repair gels. They can seal minor breaks in seconds, then you can stabilize pressure." Julia smiled. At Andrew's offer, she said, "I know his gels. They work." Kyrie tapped her boot on the floor. She said, "This station is our life. My clan dies if it falls. But I do not trust humans with our secrets." Her warriors shifted behind her. They gripped their weapons. They watched the team closely. Alex raised his voice gently. He said, "We understand your caution. Let us work while guarded. You choose one of your warriors to watch us. We stay where you can see," Kyrie thought. She looked at the sealed door. Then she chose Linda. She said, "She stays with you. Any sign of trick she ends this?" Linda nodded and drew her blade. She stood beside Julia and Andrew. Ben whispered to Alex, "We plan fast. We do not want conflict." Alex nodded. He turned to Julia and Andrew. He said, "Lead the repair. Ben and I will gather parts." Together, the humans and their guard walked down a side corridor. They reached the core chamber. Inside, a large cylinder pulsed. Wires hung loose. The floor was wet with coolant. Julia knelt by a broken conduit. She scanned with her tool. She said, "This break is 15 centimeters long. Pressure loss is high. We need to seal and reroute power." Andrew pulled out a gel syringe. He applied gel along the fracture. The gel hardened in seconds. Julia tapped her scanner again. She said, "Leak sealed. Next, reroute power." She pointed to a junction box above. Kyrie watched as the humans worked. She saw Andrew's steady hands. She saw Julia's calm focus. She heard the hum of the gauntlet from above. She felt a shift inside. She said quietly to herself, "They may be worthy." Ben and Alex climbed up to the junction. They found a matching alien relay. Alex attached a human adapter. It clicked into place. Ben raised his gauntlet. He connected its interface to the alien data port. Data streams flashed on his gauntlet screen. He typed commands. He said, "Power routing at 50%. The cylinder light brightened. The hum grew stronger. The station walls shivered. Kyrie looked up. The hum steadied. She felt relief. She spoke in common. "You have helped. The core is stable." Alex smiled. He said, We keep our promise. Kyrie turned to Ben. She said, I owe you respect, human. Ben nodded. He said, we earned it together. Kyrie led them back to the chamber. She opened the sealed doorway. She said, we will share information. But one thing I keep secret. Alex asked. What is that? Kyrie pointed at the artifact doorway. She said, the final key. That room stays locked. Ben frowned. He said, we need that key to learn full truth. Kyrie shook her head. She said firmly, some truths kill. Our fate crystal must stay hidden. Alex stepped closer. He said softly, if we cannot see it, we cannot understand its power. Misunderstanding brings war. Kyrie's eyes darted. She said, my orders are clear, I must obey. Andrew spoke, orders change when lives are at risk. Kyrie looked at Andrew's calm face. She hesitated. Linda stepped forward. She said, my blade holds the answer, open or end. The words hung heavy. Ben felt the heat of conflict. He raised a hand. He said, stop, we fight each other. If we fight, we all lose. He looked at Kyrie. He said, trust me. Help. U.S. and we all live. Kyrie closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. She thought of her clan's future. Minutes passed. No one spoke. At last, Kyrie spoke. She said quietly, for now, I trust you. She turned and removed a small device from her belt. She placed it on the floor and stepped back. The device clicked. The door slid open. Bright light filled the chamber. Inside stood a pedestal with a glowing crystal. Its light pulsed like a heartbeat. Kyrie stared at it. She whispered, this is the fate crystal. Ben stepped forward. He touched the air near the light. Data streams shimmered in his gauntlet interface. He said, so much energy. Kyrie nodded. She said, do not touch it without care. Ben smiled. He said, we will record, not remove. Alex recorded the chamber on his helmet cam. He said, this data will save worlds. Kyrie watched the human team work with care. She felt cautious hope. The fate crystal's glow reflected on their faces. Two worlds stood at a crossroads. Motives clashed and aligned. Ben and Kyrie knew the next step would define the future. The stolen alien shuttle glided through the dark void of space. Ben Foster sat at the controls. His gauntlet rested on the panel. The shuttle's systems hummed with alien tech. Kyrie Dalton stood beside him. Her blue skin glowed under the lights. She watched the console with curious eyes. They had escaped the collapsing station. Orange flames flickered in their shields as walls collapsed where they once walked. The stolen shuttle held only enough fuel for a short trip. They aimed for the human cruiser, orbiting nearby. Kyrie folded her arms. She looked at Ben. She said, your people call this a shuttle? It feels small. Ben smiled. He said, it's a scout ship, fast and agile. He tapped the controls. He said, I set course for Promontory Orbit Alpha. Kyrie nodded. She studied his calm face. Behind them, 4 alien warriors guarded the cockpit. They held energy rifles. Their eyes tracked every move. They were uneasy. One guard whispered, this human drives well. Another answered, but he steals our ship. The first guard shrugged. He said, we follow orders. Kyrie's eyes flicked to the guards. She said, let them watch. But do not harm. Then activated the radio. Static filled the cabin. Alex Reed's voice came through. He sounded tense. Ben, status? Ben replied, we are en route. Shuttle holds. Alex said, good, cruiser shields are low. We need to dock soon. Ben said, copy. Prepare docking sequence. Kyrie watched the humans work. The shuttle approached the cruiser's docking bay. Lights from the ship's thrusters lit the corridor ahead. Ben guided the shuttle inside. The guards gripped their rifles as the bay doors closed behind them. Inside the bay, crane arms hung from the ceiling. Alex and Julia waited at the entry ramp. They held weapons but did not point them. Andrew checked his medkit. He smiled at Kyrie. He said, welcome aboard. Kyrie nodded. She stepped out first. Her boots made no sound on the metal floor. Alex waved. He said, Kyrie, your healing help earlier saved lives. We're grateful, Kyrie replied. Your people promised respect. This is the test. She looked at Andrew. He bowed his head slightly. He said, we pass it every moment. Ben brought the shuttle to a stop. He hopped out. He said, we should move the crystal to a secure lab. Kyrie blinked. She looked at the crystal container strapped behind Ben's seat. A soft glow pulsed inside the case. Julia approached. She scanned the container. She said, the containment field is stable, no leaks. Kyrie touched the case. She said, this crystal is wrong place now. Alex gently placed a hand on Kyrie's shoulder. He said, we will keep it safe. Together, Kyrie shook him off. She stepped back. She said, I will guard it. She moved beside Ben. Andrew led Kyrie down a corridor toward the lab. He smiled. He said, these halls are new to you? Kyrie studied the human ship. She said, your ships change shape. They are alive. Andrew laughed softly. He said, we call them cradles. They carry us through the stars. Kyrie nodded. In the lab, bright lights revealed rows of consoles. Technicians worked at terminals. They wore white coats. They stopped and stared at Kyrie. She held her sword at her side. She looked uneasy. A young scientist whispered to a colleague. They pointed at the crystal case. The lead scientist, Dr. Alicia Wang, greeted them. She was calm and polite. She said, Captain Reed, Mr. Foster, welcome. This is my lab. Alex nodded. He said, we have special guest, Dr. Wang. She will oversee the crystal study. Dr. Wang bowed. She said, honor to meet you, Kyrie Dalton. Kyrie folded her arms. She said, I guard the crystal. No one touches it without my leave. Dr. Wang smiled. She said, of course, we will respect your ritual. First, we verify the crystal's stability. She walked to a console. She pressed. Buttons, readings appeared. She said, energy levels are high but contained, perfect for study. Kyrie watched the screen. Ben joined them. He tapped his gauntlet. Data streamed on his interface. He compared with the lab's readings. He said, human and alien data match. The gauntlet shows identical readings. Kyrie's guard, Lena, moved close. She saw the readings, too. She said, your gauntlet learns fast. Ben said, it adapts to any energy type. Lena nodded. Julia and Andrew worked with technicians to secure the shuttle. They unloaded equipment. Andrew said, we need parts for the gauntlet upgrade. Can we use ship reserves? Julia added, I want to improve its interface. Dr. Wang said, approved. Captain's orders. Use station tech if needed. Kyrie looked at the scientists. She said, do it. Ben and Kyrie moved to a workshop. The air smelled of ozone. Benches were covered in tools. Ben opened his gauntlet panel. Wires and circuits glowed. Kyrie studied his hand. She said, this is where power flows. Ben turned to her. He said, show me your blade. Kyrie hesitated. She unsheathed her energy sword. Its blade shimmered. Ben held his gauntlet hand next to the blade without touching. He said, tell me its power. Kyrie watched his face. She said, my blade cuts through any metal. It uses plasma energy, she demonstrated. She swung the sword over a scrap metal plate. It cut smoothly. Sparks flew. Ben watched the blades glow. He tapped his gauntlet. Its sensors recorded data. He said, we can adapt. I can update to block and redirect this blade too. Kyrie smiled. She said, then we become equals. Ben looked at her. He said, allies, maybe. Kyrie nodded. As they spoke, alarms rang. Red lights flashed. The lab's doors sealed. Alex's voice crackled, overcome. Intruders! The alien hierarchy ships arrived. They come to take back the crystal. Ben's heart raced. He said, prepare defenses. Kyrie drew her sword. She said, warn the crew. She sprinted from the workshop. Ben activated his gauntlet's defense mode. He pressed a button. A shield generator hummed. He rushed to the lab entrance. Soldiers in human armor raced past him. They loaded rifles. Kyrie reached the control room. She pounded a panel. Open the bay bays, she shouted. Security officers ran to their stations. They punched codes. Doors hissed open. Soldiers manned turrets along corridors. Alex grabbed Kyrie's arm. He said, we hold them here. Ben secures the crystal. Move to high ground. Together they planned. Soldiers set up barricades, plasma turrets turned toward the door. Kyrie watched the corridor's end. Ben returned carrying the crystal case. Its light pulsed in time with his heart. He placed it on a secure console. Scientists moved behind a shield. Ben tapped coordinates. He said, "If they breach, we jettison the crystal into space." Jai frowned. She said, "No. We fight." Ben nodded. The first intruders arrived. They were alien soldiers in dark armor. Their energy rifles glowed red. They charged down the corridor. Human turrets opened fire. Blasts lit the hallway. Kyrie leapt into action. She sliced through 2 soldiers with her blade. Sparks flew as metal met plasma. Ben activated his gauntlet's shield. He blocked incoming blasts with one hand. He jumped forward. He punched the ground. A shockwave knocked soldiers back. He turned to Kyrie. He said, "Clear the way." Kyrie flipped and kicked 2 more soldiers down. The fight was fierce. Humans and aliens fought side by side. Bullets and plasma crossed. Janine Lee, a technician, watched from behind cover. She whispered, "We stand with you." Andrew treated wounded soldiers from both sides. He moved without fear. After heavy battle, the intruders faltered. Their leader, an alien captain, raised a staff. It glowed bright. He struck the ground. Vines of energy wrapped around the turret. It collapsed. He advanced toward the lab. Kyrie met him. She swung her blade. The captain blocked with his own weapon. They clashed. Energy sparks flew. Their fight was a dance of steel and plasma. Ben joined, using his gauntlet to disrupt the staff's energy. He punched it aside. The captain staggered. Kyrie struck his side. He dropped his staff. He hissed and fled. The remaining soldiers retreated. The bay lights returned to white. The alarms stopped. Silence fell over the lab. Breath fogged in the cool air. Humans and aliens looked at each other. Pain and triumph lingered. Kyrie sheathed her sword. She wiped sweat from her brow. Alex called out, "We held them off." Soldiers cheered softly. Ben knelt by the crystal console. He said, "The crystal is safe." Kyrie approached. She placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. She said, "Your people fight well." Ben smiled. Wong stepped forward. She said, "We owe our lives to both of you." Kyrie nodded. She said, "We did this together." Andrew treated the last wounded. Julia checked the lab systems. The station hummed steady. Ben looked at Kyrie. He said, "We learned trust in battle," Kyrie added, "and respect." Alex smiled. He said, "This alliance is true." The fate crystal glowed softly behind them. Outside, the cruiser's shields recovered. The stolen shuttle returned to hangar. Peace hung in the air. 2 worlds stood united by steel and plasma. The next step would test them even more. But for now, they had won. Kyrie Dalton stood at the crystal chamber's entrance. Her heart beat fast. Beyond the doorway lay corridors she had never seen. She glanced at Ben Foster. His gauntlet pulsed softly on his arm. He nodded at her. They both took a step inside. The corridor lit with pale blue lights. Walls bore alien symbols. The air felt cool. Julia Parks and Andrew Collins followed. Linda Dalton watched them closely. All moved with care. The fate crystal sat behind them, sealed in a glowing case. Ben tapped his gauntlet. He read data streams in his helmet display. He said, "This station's hidden wing shows advanced architecture. We can learn much." Kyrie frowned. She said, "This place is sacred." "No outsider walked here before?" Alex Reed lowered his weapon. He said, "We respect that. We go with honor." They entered a circular room. At its center was a pool of clear liquid. Small jets bubbled up from the floor. Steam rose. Kyrie glanced at it. She said, "This is the memory well. Our ancestors stored visions here." She stepped closer. Her warriors behind her kept watch. Ben held up a hand. He said, "How does it work?" Kyrie turned to him. She said, "We place our hand in the water. We share our mind's memory. It records in crystal patterns." She dipped her hand into the pool. Water glowed around her skin. Her eyes closed. Julia and Andrew exchanged looks. Alex whispered, "Should we?" Ben answered, "If she trusts." So you should show respect. He placed his gauntlet hand into the water. The liquid glowed orange around the metal dot. Of vision filled their minds. They saw Kyrie as a young warrior. She trained under a red sky. She learned to fight and to guard. They saw her joy when she passed her blade test. They felt her fear when the station fell under attack years ago. Kyrie gasped. She withdrew her hand. She said, "You saw my truth." Ben nodded. He said, "We share, we show trust." He motioned to Alex. Alex dipped his hand. He saw his first victory in space. He saw the loss of comrades in another battle. He gasped. He stepped back. Julia and Andrew tried too. Each saw personal memories. They shared tears and smiles. Linda watched, then stepped forward. She placed her hand. She saw Kyrie's life, her clan's past. She closed her eyes. She felt sorrow and hope. When all withdrew, silence filled the room. Kyrie spoke softly. "You honored our ritual." "Few receive this gift," Ben said. "Thank you." "Now, we understand better." Kyrie nodded. She said, "Follow me." She led them through a hidden door. Beyond lay a vault. Its walls held crystal tablets. Each tablet glowed with scenes from the past. Kyrie explained, "These are our sacred records. Each shows a choice made by our ancestors." She touched one. It displayed a treaty between her people and another alien clan. She said, "We chose peace once. Then we lost trust." Alex stepped forward. He said, "We must learn from both success and failure." He looked at Kyrie. She smiled. Ben capped the gauntlet. He recorded tablet data. He said, "Our historians will study this. It may prevent future war." Kyrie said, "We guard these for that reason." Julia scanned the vault. She said, "Power levels remain stable. You have done well to maintain." This place, a sudden alarm echoed. Red lights flashed. Communications crackled. Dr. Alicia Wang's voice said, "Captain Reed, unidentified signal approaching." "Ship sensors show multiple contacts." Alex's face hardened. He said, "Prepare." "Defense." Kyrie's eyes narrowed. She gripped her sword hilt. Ben closed the vault door. He said, "We must protect both crystal and records." Kyrie agreed. She said, "We defend together." She led them to a tunnel. It descended deeper. They reached an open atrium. Beams of light shone through a glass ceiling. Vines grew along stone columns. At the center stood a large console. It controlled the station's functions. Kyrie said, "This is the control nexus. We can seal the station if needed." Alex asked, "Can we hide the crystal here?" Kyrie nodded. She opened a panel and cleared space. Ben and Julia worked. They installed the crystal case inside the nexus core. Andrew secured protective barriers. Linda kept watch at the tunnel entrance. Outside, the shuttle bay doors opened. Alien ships docked at the station, their engines cut off. Soldiers poured in. They aimed their weapons inward. Kyrie drew her sword. She said, "Hold the line." Alex raised his sidearm. He said, "We protect here." Soldiers and technicians moved behind barricades. Ben raised his gauntlet. He activated its field. Energy pulsed around them. He said, "Ready on your mark." Alex nodded. He whispered, "On 3. Kyrie looked at him. She said, "1. Alex said, "2. Andrew added, "3. Kyrie charged with a battle cry. Alex and soldiers followed. Ben stayed behind the Nexus console. He set the crystal's defenses. He tapped commands. Screens glowed red and blue. The alien soldiers advanced. They fired energy rifles. Kyrie blocked blasts with her blade. She slashed through barricades. Alex shot down enemies at the edges. Inside the Nexus, Ben fought off intruders at the console. He punched back soldiers with his gauntlet shield. Sparks flew. Andrew and Julia tended wounded humans and aliens alike. The battle raged. Corridors shook. Alarms wailed. In the chaos, Ben saw a soldier reaching for the crystal console. He dashed forward. He grabbed the soldier's arm. He twisted. The rifle clattered to the floor. Kyrie fought beside Ben. She saw the open console. She sprinted and slammed her sword hilt into the activation switch. She triggered a station lockdown. Heavy. Doors slammed across corridors. Intruders were trapped outside. Silence fell again. Dust drifted in light beams. Survivors cheered quietly. Kyrie sheathed her blade. She said, "We have won this fight." Ben deactivated his gauntlet field. He panted. He said, "We did this." Together, Alex approached. He said, "Your people's home is safe." Kyrie nodded. She looked at Ben. She said, "You proved yourself worthy." Ben smiled. He said, "And you showed great courage." In the control nexus, Dr. Wang studied. "Consoles?" She said, "The station is stable once more." "All systems nominal," Julia added. "We can start full repairs now." Linda turned to Kyrie. She said, "Commission orders will arrive soon." Kyrie looked to Alex. She said, "Our alliance is sealed." The fate crystal glowed within the nexus. Records rested safely in the vault. Two species stood united in defense. The station's halls held new promise, a hope born of trust and shared strength. Ben Foster entered the council chamber aboard the cruiser. The room was bright and circular. Windows looked out into deep space. A dozen senior officers and alien envoys stood in a ring. At the center floated a hologram of the fate crystal. Its soft glow pulsed in time with their hearts. Captain Alex Reed stepped forward. He said, "We present proof of our success. Human and Dalton clans fought side by side. We protected the fate crystal and your station." He bowed slightly. Kyrie. Dalton followed. She held her sword sheathed at her side. She said in clear common, "I am Kyrie Dalton. I guard my people's legacy. Today I stand with humans as allies." Murmur ran through the envoys. Some nodded. Others looked uncertain. An elder alien statesman spoke. His skin was pale green and wrinkled. He wore long robes. He said, "You humans have shown honor and skill. You have learned our ways. But only one thing matters now, the fate crystal's future." He pointed to the hologram. Ben stepped forward. His gauntlet glowed faintly. He said, "The fate crystal holds power beyond weapons. It can heal or harm. We recorded its energy patterns. We studied its memory. We believe it can unite worlds, not destroy them." He paused. He met Kyrie's eyes. She offered him silent support. Alicia Wang raised her hand. She said, "We ran simulations. The crystal's energy can stabilize dying stars and heal wounded planets. Misused, it can collapse atmospheres. But with governance and respect, we can share its benefits." She showed charts in a hologram. One envoy asked, "How do we ensure it remains safe?" Julia Parks replied, "We propose a joint council. Representatives from each clan and the Human Alliance will oversee its use. All decisions require unanimous consent." She spoke in simple terms. All could understand. Andrew Collins added, "We also propose training healers and engineers to manage the crystal. We will teach your people and learn from you in return." He smiled at the envoys. The elder statesman stroked his chin. He said, "This plan requires trust. Can we trust humans and Dalton warriors to uphold it?" Kyrie stepped forward. She said, "I trust Ben Foster and his people. I risked my life for their cause. They honored our ritual and our station." She looked at Ben. Her voice was steady. Ben felt warmth in his chest. He said, "I trust Kyrie Dalton. She saved lives today. We are stronger together." Alex nodded. He said, "Our alliance is built on deeds, not words." The envoys conferred among themselves in hushed tones. After a moment, the elder statesman raised his hand. He said, "So be it. We accept the joint council. The fate crystal stays at the station under shared watch." Cheers rose in the chamber. Kyrie and Ben exchanged relieved looks. The crystal's hologram winked off. The envoys filed out. Alex whispered to Kyrie, "You changed history today." She smiled. Outside the chamber, Ben and Kyrie walked along the cruiser's observation deck. Stars stretched across the black sky. Kyrie said, "Our clans will speak of this day for generations. My people will fear change, but they will learn." Ben said, "Humans fear the unknown too. But if we face it together, we grow." She looked at him. She said, "You stopped my blade with one hand. You earned my respect." Now you hold a place in our council." Ben shook his head. He said, "It is your honor. You showed me your history. And your heart, we are equals now." They stood in silence, sharing hope. Later, in the cruiser's med bay, Andrew treated minor wounds on Dalton warriors and human marines alike. He used healing gels tuned to alien biology. Julia helped Dr. W&G calibrate new equipment. Together, they prepared for the long task of studying and caring for the crystal dot in the engineering deck. Ben worked with alien technicians to refine his gauntlet. He shared code and wiring. They taught him new materials. Sparks flew where human. And alien hands collaborated. In the station vault, Kyrie oversaw the transfer of crystal tablets into digital archives. She watched as Dalton scholars and human historians translated ancient symbols. She saw her people's stories live again. Weeks passed. The station's core hummed with renewed life. The Joint Council met daily in the circular chamber. Each envoy spoke in turn. Disagreements arose, but they ended in compromise. One day, Ben and Kyrie stood by the memory well. They looked at their reflections in the water. Kyrie said, "I have one last memory to share." She dipped her hand. Visions of her first battle and her training filled their minds again. Ben placed his gauntlet hand beside hers. He saw his childhood, his first mission, his fear of failure. They withdrew. Ben said, "We share our truths. No secrets remain between us." Kyrie nodded. She said, "That makes our bond strong." They smiled. Time moved on. Human and Dalton ships traveled together. They delivered medicine and technology to distant colonies. They exchanged art and music at fleet gatherings. One evening, Ben received a message from Earth. The United Planets Council invited representatives of the Dalton clan. They would honor them with a diplomatic mission. Kyrie accompanied Alex and Ben to the address pod. As the cruiser prepared for jump, Kyrie looked at Ben. She said, "We face new worlds now." Ben said, "And new challenges." She placed her hand on his armored glove. He felt the hum. She said quietly, "Next time, I will not draw my blade at you." Ben smiled. He said, "And I will not stop it." Kyrie laughed softly. She said, "That would be a mistake." The cruiser jumped into warp, carrying hope and alliance across the stars. Two warriors, once enemies, now stood side by side, shaping a future neither could have forged alone.